for District 3 out in Northwest Tampa, and I am also the Hillsborough MPO's School Transportation Working Group Chair. We are very excited to host this event for a topic that is relevant to safety and our students here in the district. First of all, I would like to thank S&M&E for providing lunch today from Montero Restaurante. Thank you very much, June, for your hospitality. So today, the reason that you're here for not just free lunch is to get a closer look at Pasco County's Safety Town through the eyes of the Sheriff's Office of Pasco. And Corporal Tim Bullock is here. He's originally from California. Corporal Bullock has been in law enforcement for more than 15 years. And about 2 years ago, Sheriff Naco got Mr. Bullock out of the jail, okay, well, out of working for the corrections office and assigned him to be the Safety Town coordinator. So Corporal Bullock is happily married with 3 beautiful daughters and 2 grandsons. His dedication and caring for the children and his staff are felt by all he encounters, and not only is he an excellent professional deputy, but he's a wise counselor to many of the community volunteers who come to work at Safety Town. So please give a warm welcome to Corporal Bullock and the Sheriff's Office of Pasco for presenting to us today.
Hi everybody. Like Cindy said, I'm Corporal Bullock. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 10 years, well, since 2010 I should say. But prior to that I had experience up in Boston. I'm at the benefit of, well, I'm at the leisure of the Sheriff, put me over here at Safety Town. He thought that I could do a good job, and I'm sure I'm not letting him down. Otherwise, I would have been removed from there. Sometimes they say if you mess up, you get promoted or stuff like that. That's not how it goes out there. It's like you mess up, you're done. So I really enjoy Safety Town. Safety Town's a great place. Has anybody in this group been to Safety Town? Okay.
Oh, good. A couple more. Yeah.
Does anybody? Okay, so seeing that nobody's been there, it'd be hard for you to understand what the concept is. About 25 years in the making, Safety Town's been there. It was a vision of a gentleman by the name of Alric Potberg. He donated all the land so that we could have this not an educational facility for children. It had to be a learning facility. So he donated the land, and when he did that, the stipulations was if you do something on the property, it has to be not-for-profit, it has to be educational, and has to be beneficial for the children of the community. So they came up with an idea of a Safety Town, which is a 6.1 acre learning facility where the kids will come off the bus and they'll learn roughly 17 learning stations from 911, stranger danger, boat safety, but we'll get into that within the slide. Safety Town is encompassed, it's, I don't want to say employees, but the people that make Safety Town what it is are our volunteers. John, can you stand up, please? This is John Cover. He's one of the crew leaders. We have crew leaders and instructors out there. John happens to be our crew leader, and he's my right-hand man out there. Without his assistance, Safety Town wouldn't be the, I call it, a pinnacle of success that it is because of the undying loyalty, devotion, selflessness, and commitment to Safety Town. So John, you want to say a couple of words before we get started on the program?
Oh, well, thank you, sir. And thank you for the invitation. Everywhere I go today, I talk about Safety Town. If it's a restaurant and there's little children, my wife and I are passing out Safety Town materials. At 76, the last 11 years of my life has been a gift to be able to work at Safety Town. I can't think of anything else that has ever given me more gratification, and especially working with a boss like Corporal Tim. It's worth getting up in the morning, as you're going to see a little bit later. Thank you, sir.
Agreed. Hi. You know, last year John was given the Volunteer of the Year award. He committed over 1,900 hours to Safety Town. So we're here to make a presentation to you guys that hopefully Hillsborough County will do the same thing what we do. Even though I'm the only one that's paid for within Safety Town's realm. Our board members, who are members of the community and well-standing members in the community, they are all non-paid committee members. So everybody that gets paid out there, I'm that person. I'm everybody. All the volunteers out there are just that. All volunteers, all volunteer hours. So with that being said, if you guys want to try to get a program like this, you really have to be committed entirely. Even though I'm the only one paid, the sheriff usually generates about $200,000 of, inmate labor, work crews, all that stuff to keep Safety Town running. If there's a problem in Safety Town, we take care of it. We make sure that I'm out there in this uniform, banging nails, putting electrical up, cutting trees down, painting the buildings, painting the roadways. But welcome to the ride. It's a great ride. Safety Town's fantastic. And it definitely is advantageous to have it in the community, so if we can help you build one down here, we'd love to do it. Because it's, I'm originally from Boston, not from California, but I did live on the fruit land for a while. I'm from Boston, and we don't have anything up there that's like this. The value that we have the value that I get from working at Safety Town is, you'll see in a very short minute why we do what we do. Obviously, I've already introduced myself. Got my boy John, he's my right-hand man. I used to call this photo Skipper and Gilligan. People know that one? That's little buddy. That's my little buddy right there. So we also have this slide that we want to bring it to your attention. You may have seen this on the ABC News channel. Oh shoot. I need to go back to that slide. Come on. Work with me.
Where's Lionel?
This is pretty important. It has to be a direct thing from the website, the ABC.
It's directed to another website. I just see more of us in the rest of it. Was that you guys know already?
Yeah, John's going to hand us some information from a parent, which this slide. Before we can get that, as we can get that up running while waiting. This is a letter from a parent to a teacher at Odessa Elementary School whose child came to Safety Town. The interesting story about this is that school wasn't scheduled there until Thursday, the following Thursday, but we had to book them earlier so we could have a volunteer banquet party. So we moved them up to the Friday. Well, on that Sunday, after the school came through, this young girl ended up helping pull her brother out of the pool, swimming pool. And she learned a lot of techniques over at Safety Town. So we get calls from, and the letters to explain the ladies thanking Odessa Elementary School for bringing the children to Safety Town for a field trip. Because you got to understand, we get a lot of people that are indigent out there, and the parents aren't parenting. So we end up being that coaching lesson. If they come to our town, they learn some safety skills that they don't learn at home apparently, or even setting up certain safety elements within the house, as if your house is on fire, you should have a meeting place. Well, people of all economic demographics don't set up these things. So we happen to feel that when you see letters like this, that we are doing a pretty good service for the community. So when we get calls from Michigan, them wanting to do a study on the value of what we're doing, is it right?
I think it's going to work.
When we get a call from, it should be.
Let's see the ball. I've seen the guy do this before.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, the video, okay, so we've got, this is a young, who has a form of autism. This is a little girl, Michelle, she saved her brother's life. She was able, when she came from Safety Town, she learned how to get the response going rather than panic and throw the hands up in the air with the I don't know effect. So as they came to Safety Town, she learned what to do, not to jump in and help. She learned to get the lifeline, and they proceeded to call 911. The child ended up going to You can see that on ABC News, unfortunately won't play here. They end up getting awards from the sheriff on that particular incident because of the fact that they helped save the brother's life. He ended up going to Tampa General for 24 hours for observation, and then sent home with no problems. He had no other medical issues. So the letter that's being handed out was from the mom in that incident. Okay. All right. So I wish this thing would play.
Well, I have someone help.
That's okay. No, I mean
That whole hour.
I've got you the whole story. And like the gentleman John that's in that particular photo, he happens to be a firefighter for Port Richey. So our volunteers are really well engaged, and we're happy to bring it to you. We will field some questions, but that's pretty powerful. But people from Michigan have been calling us, hey, is there a study? Is there a study? And it's like a lot of times we do hear that we do provide a good service, but a lot of times it's further on down the road. It just happened to be that it happened 2 days later when we got this feedback.
When we started looking into this and I discovered you, I'm Lisa Silva, host for MPO and the liaison for School Transportation Working Group. It was one of my other committee members for Livable Roadways Committee, June Farrell, brought this traffic gardens to our attention. And they're in Europe a lot, and they're very similar to the concept that we discovered is in our right back door with Pasco Safety Town. And those planners were doing white papers and doing research and getting specific measurable results on the benefits of this. So we would be glad to share those resources with you to help you make the case for why it is, and you could have some concrete, specific measurable
That's awesome.
things.
Well, I'll tell you, like, there is a safety village, it's out in Orlando, and they do have, there is a push now for type of places for kids to learn stuff that we operate on. And I'll tell you, if it's not a community effort, what I'm about to show you, if it's not a community effort, it's going to fall. It will fail. It's not going to get off the ground because a lot of times people get involved with something and their heart's not into it. They'll slap their name on something, but they won't go through with it. So if you're committed and you have people that are committed to what the primary purpose is and the mission is, it will be successful. Like I said, we are beneficial because if anything goes wrong in our place, we have road and bridge that will come down and fix our traffic lights. We have traffic lights at work. If anything goes wrong with our roads, we have, our electrical, we have Whiffle-Lacucci right on call. And they always put us at the top of the list because of the fact that when you're talking about 4,000 kids coming through each year at your facility, it's a pretty important component for what we're doing. And like I said, we have our sponsors that are on our buildings that they're pretty fantastic people. And anytime it's like Ferro Roofing, which is one of our roofing sponsors that we have, if we need anything, they'll bring in some shingles. They'll provide labor, all the good stuff. So it's, the buy-in has to be great. Also, the county will come down and fix our air conditioners if one of our buildings go out. So we're sitting on, we would like to help you guys if you decide to want to move forward with something like this, okay? Like I said, it's been in existence for 25 years, and 25 years is a pretty good track record of being successful. All right, so here's Safety Town. We're going to get right into the town. It's 6.1 acre learning facility with roads, lights, traffic signals, railroad crossings. This happens to be at bus stops, and when the bus goes down, it'll offload the kids into this walkway, and this walkway was put in by a gentleman, a young teenager, getting his Eagle badge from the Eagle Scouts. So you had to improve this area here. When I first got there, it looked like an assemblance of brick, of all different size bricks. You couldn't put a wheelchair down there to get the people off the bus to wheel them into the instruction part of the school. So now it's not a health hazard or a safety hazard, and it looks fantastic. So he ended up getting his Eagle badge. He got an award for community commitment from our sheriff, and they're from Brooksville, so they came down to help us out, and it's a really beautiful place. So that's the back side of it. Now the kids will line up on those white lines. We'll break them down into 4 groups. If it's a large group, we'll break them down into 5 groups, and we'll give them instruction. Now from there, I'll introduce them to Safety Town, but we also, it's not only about the small things, it's big things that we learn about protecting in a fire or a stop, drop, cover, and roll. We also show these little items out there. We'll plant these in the town. And everybody knows what this is, a pill bottle, right? Can anybody tell me what this is? A lighter, right? And then we also put a needle out. And people are like, why are you going to put that dangerous stuff? Now the other thing that we put out there, we'll put a gun out there. Now people say, oh, this is dangerous, those are dangerous. Yeah, but when they come to Safety Town, we tell them and we instruct them, what is this? They tell you, and we say, okay, you need to leave it alone. Leave it alone. And you need to tell an adult, because the adult will remove the threat. And we go through this process. We do it 4 times to get the muscle memory going. What are you going to do? Leave it alone. What's the next step? Tell them don't. So we go through this all, and we put the gun out there. And the funny thing is, when we used to put the things out there, we'd put them out like against the building or put them out of the reach of the kids. So when I got there, I said, you got to put it in the reach of the kids. Because they're not going to get that muscle memory as to know right or wrong, or you know, if it's a threat or not, or if it's just a make-believe land, which we make it to be for them. But the threat is real, so we put them in the areas where they would actually want to pick them up. And then if they do all that, we give them a sticker. We give them a Safety Town Detective badge if they do all the steps right. So we reinforce the behavior. And I'll tell you, I've been there, and I would say 95% of the times we don't have to re-instruct. The kids get it, they understand, leave everything alone. And even when we put the weapon, the gun down on the sidewalk, it's right, they got to walk right by it, but they know not to pick it up. So that's why we reinforce things. You know, some people think it's been working for 20 plus years. Keep on working, don't change it.
Allegedly, it works now, and it was in the room, and while we're waiting, I got a safety sticker when we were there too. I did something right, so I was saying.
Yeah, and this is the Safety Town Detective badge that we will issue to the kids when they do the right thing. And we tell the kids, not everybody gets a trophy, but if you do the right thing, you'll get the trophy at the end, which is a Safety Town Detective badge. And I tell them, this is just an ordinary badge, but this is a Safety Town Detective badge. It's pretty special. Anybody can get this if they want. You know, but they can't get this.
Yeah.
So we try to reinforce the good stuff.
Yeah, so they have to like get in and put the seatbelt on correctly, or they don't get a badge. It's really cool. All right.
County Sheriff's Office honored 2 kids today for helping save their own brother from drowning.
And as Eric Waxler reports tonight, a school field trip just a few days earlier taught those life-saving lessons.
8-year-old Anthony Chinella has stole the show at this award ceremony. But if it wasn't for his siblings, he might not be here. Last month, 6-year-old Michelle and her kindergarten class from Odessa Elementary went on a field trip to Safety Town, where staff teach kids how to stay safe on the streets and at home. That includes what to do if someone is drowning.
Mr. John taught her how to not jump in after anyone and to use a rope and to make sure to go get an adult to tell them.
Just 3 days later, Michelle and her brother Anthony, who has autism, were playing by the pool. Anthony fell, hit his head, and went in the water. Michelle reacted fast, running to get her mother, who thankfully knows CPR very well. While she worked on her son, Michelle went for help.
She ran in and followed my every direction.
11-year-old Vincent, who also visited Safety Town, knew just what to do.
Wait, what's the address?
I got the phone, I called 911.
Yes, this is the child.
Eventually, after a serious scare, Anthony was okay, thanks in part to those lessons learned at Safety Town.
Hurry, Mom. Send help away.
Going through it and them teaching them the 911 and to recognize, she just knew that there was danger.
I felt just relieved that he was alive because I know personally that many people do not make it out alive when drowning.
Today, Pasco Sheriff Chris Nacco recognized these little lifesavers with an award and a few extras.
I got 3 bags, a comic book, and a pencil.
Since the near tragedy, the family put the pool gate back up, installed an alarm, and even held neighborhood CPR training so everyone can be prepared.
I know that God was watching over us.
In Pasco County, Eric Waxler, ABC Action News.
Two pairs of eyeglasses for just $99 at JCPenney locations. Call.
Test. All right, John, do you want to start doing the directions?
Yeah.
Also, the funny thing is, I'll try to work with this if I can for a few minutes, but I'll probably like throw it across the room, so. You know, kind of Italian, you gotta move with the hands, you know? But as, you know, the great thing is that little guy there was, he was a spitfire, especially at the award ceremony. But it's funny how everything lined up. And, you know, some people say there isn't a higher being, but I believe there is. And the way they all lined themselves up, because this class wasn't supposed to be there until the following week. And it just so happened that on the Sunday prior, this girl had the tools in her tool belt that she needed. And she did a great job. She didn't jump in and risk her own life to save her brother. So now we're going to move forward, okay? Enough of this. If you guys get questions, we'll go a little bit and you can ask some questions. I know PowerPoints get pretty boring. I like being off script most of the time. I don't like being mundane. I can't handle that stuff. So we're going to get moving. So the kids, when they get off the school bus, they're all going to line up on, if we've got 50 kids, we try to keep it 50 or less, because otherwise the kids don't get that engagement factor. So we try to minimize that. We try to make sure the groups are broken down into 4, 3, and then that way there's maybe maximum 10 in each group. Because the groups being small, you don't have to worry about the distractions from the kids, and therefore you can give better teaching opportunities for these kids to take that tool that they're going to need in case they need it in the future. So we'll give the speech there with the weapons, you know, the guns and the needles and all that good stuff. And then we'll move on to them being broken down into 4 different starting points of the tour. But we're just going to take you through a generic tour where they'll start at 911. So John, could you get to the next slide, please? Thank you. So here's part of our roadways that's going to lead up to the sheriff's office. The next photo, okay, John. Okay, there's going to be the sheriff's office. All our miniature buildings are pretty fantastic. They're basically a lot of sheds, a lot of storage areas for wood and all this stuff, but the kids are going to start believing it's their little town. It's all miniaturized for them, and they feel pretty big out there. So what we'll do in this particular learning station here, they learn about 911. What's reinforced at the 911 is stranger danger, because we'll stage a person to fall down, they'll be the victim, they'll have to make the phone call. Right here, it's a little telephone. They'll call 911. There's a script that will go by, make sure the child knows how to interact with somebody on the phone in this strenuous situation. Then all of a sudden, we'll send out our little ambulance. It has lights, sirens. It's fantastic. And Skip, he's one of our other crew leaders there. He's picking up, that happens to be an Operation Payback, so we incorporate some of those as long as they're not violent. They can do community service hours out there and pay back their due to the community. So he'll pick them up and we'll drive them to the little hospital that we have set up. And then we'll do it all over again for the next grouping. It's pretty phenomenal. So we reinforce stranger danger by saying not to go there and help the person, because that's what they want to do. They want to help. Well, you don't know the person. It could be a trick, a lure, and we reinforce stranger danger. So everything's reinforced throughout the whole entire place to keep that muscle memory going and to build that education in their brain housing group. All right, so we're going to go on. That's just one of our sponsors, the Old Time Gun Shop, and one of our sponsors. Basically, our sponsors pay $1,500 a year for a building. It was pretty neat, and I was talking to Teresa from Seal Swim School. She's like, that's all it is? $1,500? I'm like, man, I should have said $2,500. But, and she's been a fantastic person. But $1,500 for a sponsorship, and you're trying to turn away too many people because they want to get their business out there, and they want to be involved with Safety Town.
Did you say it's a gun store?
It's an Old Time Gun Shop, yeah.
Like an old Western gun shop?
Well, they're a sponsor. They're a business on Route 52, just down the road, and they sponsor $1,500 for that building. He's pretty cool. I should take it. He's standing behind an old Western type barroom, saloon, that type of opening. So he's one of our sponsors. Because we place a gun out there, so there's got to be safety mechanisms for everybody. So and then we go on to the next slide, and that's where we pay homage to our military and the vets, and we have. It's a great little tour as these kids are walking down the little sidewalks. All right, John? So next, safety that the learners stop, drop, cover, and roll. We set mattresses. We put little mats out here, little blue mats. The kids will go through the motions and the mechanics of that. They'll protect themselves. And if they're waiting long enough, this little sign right here has little flames on it. And the kids will set up a hose and a reel, and we'll set it up and we'll put it here, and the kids will end up squirting the fire out with the hose. It's just a pitcher, and it's a flap. So when they squirt the fire out, the flap moves and the water goes through the thing, and they feel like firefighters. So we try to, okay, we're a cop, but we still try to promote firefighters, okay? Should have been a firefighter. But anyways, we got this is Little Safety Town. That's by one of our other sponsors, and they, the same way, they spend $1,500 to be there. And then, next, John. And here's my boy, Johnny. Johnny's a great kid. He suffers from Down syndrome, and he's one of our little crew leaders out there that helps out any way he can out there. And he does a great job at it. So he's helping blow the town off of all the leaves and stuff because the debris always getting on the town streets. All right, John. Safety house is probably one of our staple components. It's an interactive house. So we're going to go into safety house, and what you'll learn here is we have our TV set up, but we also got with Bay News 9, and they do a simulated tornado or hurricane. The house will mimic a hurricane. It'll have lightning, wind, sound. It'll drop the temperature down. It vibrates. It mimics a hurricane. John and all the instructors will teach the kids the proper technique on how to save themselves in case of a hurricane, which a lot of people don't. Does everybody know how to protect themselves in a hurricane? How you? Everybody knows how to protect it? You good? John will teach you. He's eager and he's biting at the bit. All right, you guys good? All right, so they'll learn that part in the first section of the house. The middle component of the house is kitchen safety and awareness. On here you'll see a microwave. It's got some aluminum foil in there. The pot on the stove has a handle facing outward. You know, inside the blender, people don't, we usually put a fork or a spoon in there, or even in the toaster. Underneath the sink, we'll teach them not to drink anything under the sink. That's a little rhyme they come up with. Don't drink if it's under the sink. We'll put Gatorade bottle with Windex or light blue Gatorade, and ask the kids if they can determine the two. They can't, so don't drink if it's under the sink. Next, John. And then we get into the back room. We won't light the place up, but we'll let it fill with smoke. And the plumes of smoke will come up from under the doors. We teach the kids the proper technique on how not to touch a door handle if they see smoke, how to put the back of the hand to the door so they don't burn their hands while grabbing something. I know a lot of you guys probably forget that and panic. You go and grab stuff and not realize it could be pretty hot. But we teach the kids, and that's an egress window, so they'll end up leaving from that window, and we'll set up the meeting point by the mailbox. Okay, John. After they leave safety house, they're going to do the crosswalk. We do crosswalk safety. We just repainted these, so we've done a lot of paint over the summer. We do the curbs. We paint the curbs yellow just to make sure that the kids stay engaged with where they're at in the point, and it's just an instructional point. So we have them cross from yellow to yellow because it represents a corner. We've been putting in the Abbey Road crosswalks, which I think is pretty fantastic. I like that look. Maybe I'm old school, but I'm a Beatles fan too. So we set that up so they go to the next stage, which would be Stranger Danger. And then in Stranger Danger, we were having this small little rail, so I wanted to design a theme, so we redid everything with a thin blue line, thin red line theme for public safety. And the kids will learn there. We usually put the needle over there as well, so the kids will see and hopefully not pick it up. But they'll learn Stranger Danger there, and we reinforce that. And what we'll do is we'll have the kids scream. Stranger Danger, well, the instructor will ask them to scream, sound off. Well, if they're not loud enough, we don't acknowledge it. But if they're loud enough, we'll be all the way down by like 911 or down by the sheriff's office, and we'll yell over to the instructor, hey, you all right? Is everything okay over there? And they're baffled by how, it's all, we're doing it for script, but we want to hear that loud projected scream to know the child's in danger, and then that's when we'll reinforce it. We won't reinforce it if it's not done properly. All right, John. The next, electrical safety, we go passing by this power plant. We just got done making the, right one back, John. We make, these are arrows that are shooting out of the sky, and there's a kite in there. We'll throw a ball in there, a frisbee in there, or some apparatus, making sure the kids think that they can go get it. We'll also have the fence unlocked. Even though it's unlocked, it doesn't mean it's a safe area. So we try to reinforce it. If they see something like that, it's a dangerous area because of what it can do. Okay? Next. That's one of our sponsors. It's Florida Pest Control. They sponsor our public library. We put our bike safety equipment in there. Next, John. Smoking the Beer Cabin, fantastic place. That's a lot of fun because now it's another interactive one the kids can go in. And if you go to the next slide, we'll teach them about campfire safety. After that slide, we're going to bring them into the cabin. And in here, they'll learn. Next slide, John. Now, this is where they get to meet Smokey. They get to take photos. They do photo ops with him. They have a great time. It's nice and cool. The only problem with Safety Town, it gets very hot out there. When the elements are bad, it's treacherous out there. So we put water stations up. But they get to take, in this particular thing, it's air conditioned. They get to take a photo op with Smokey. And up here in the corner, they learn. We have a video that plays for them to tell them about fire safety. The guy was a genius who came up with this concept because, you know, I'm still amazed today how thought out this place has been. Okay, John, next step. All right, this is just a little blue house. We put our bikes in front of this. The kids don't learn how to ride bikes at our place. I must stress that because parents used to think that, send the kids to us. They used to teach them, okay, ride them around. Elbows, heads, all this stuff was getting banged up and they'd be going back to school and they're like, what the heck happened? You guys went to Safety Town, it's not the Safety Town. So they ain't changing up. Now we just show them what the proper technique is on riding a good bike versus a bad bike. How to observe and how to make sure that the bike you're on is safe. Not to mention that, we also teach them how to put a helmet on properly, and that way they're not slinging it like they're pretty cool, like letting it drab over the back of their neck. Now, in the back distance, we have that vehicle there. And in the next slide is where we teach them seatbelt safety. So because we've been doing a lot of repair work on painting work, we had to slide that truck off to the side. We're going to bring it back up and put it in front of Furman, and they'll learn how to do seatbelt safety. And they'll strap themselves in. When they do it, they get another badge. And that badge is the little sticker.
Sheriff's badge. I didn't bring one of those.
Yeah, we didn't bring the small one, but we brought the 911, so when someone calls 911, we give them the 911 as well. So they'll learn that. They'll get the badge, it's a little star badge, which is great. Next stop on the tour, well, we have working lights, like we said before. They all work. Next one, John. School bus, and for the audience, they used to do boarding and getting off a bus, that type of safety. We don't do that anymore because of the time frame. And it usually lasts about an hour and 45 minutes to tour. Okay, John? Home Depot, it's one of us that we're able to defer cost because we're not-for-profit, so we usually charge a minimal amount, $150 for a room inside there. So if a group wants to rent that out, we take their donations, no problem. That's fine. And it'll house some 2 different components of rooms. The district school council policy board has their meetings in there every month. They occupy both rooms. The next slide is going to be, okay, that's the original helicopter from Pasco County, the very first one they've ever had. It fell into the drink. They got it back out of there and they resurfaced it and they brought it back to life. But there's somebody in that helicopter. I was supposed to play Guess Who on it. I was going to Guess Who. You know, all right, there's McGruff. She was blown. All right, so there's McGruff. What we'll do is we got him set up and he waves. His arms are, you know, there's a little waving, it blinks, and it doesn't give the sound of a startup helicopter, but it does its purpose. So they'll learn about safety on what to do if they're trapped in a field or in an abandoned area where they hear overhead stuff going on. They can try to get some help via the sky. Okay, John? Animal safety as well, not to go near pets that are not unknown to them, foreign to them, snakes, anything, raccoons, just to stay away from animals that they don't know are safe. Okay, John? Same thing, we have another set of traffic lights. John? McDonald's, one of our sponsors, so because all of our sponsors usually give little trinkets at the end of the tour, McDonald's usually gives us Happy Meal, free Happy Meals to all the kids. And then they go to the participating ones in the neighborhood or area. And they seem to like it. They think they actually can get the shakes there. And, but unfortunately they can't. So. Farrell Roofing Company, another one of our sponsors. And then across from them is the SEAL Swim School Clubhouse. We teach them on the right side. You can go to the next slide, John. On the right side we have a boat. It's covered at the moment. but John did a lot of repair work to the marina and the boat. Kids now, before we got there, before I got there, the boat wasn't active. So now John did a lot of reconstruction to it, and I told him that was his baby. I go, this is your baby, not 20 other projects. This one's yours. You can have this one, just stay out of everything else. Is that true, John? With that, we made that interactive again. So what will happen, the instructor will make sure the life vests get put on these people. And then, John, go back to that.
I thought I had that.
There you go, right there. What will happen is the instructor will stand on the back of the boat and rock the boat as if they're getting into a boat that's has motion within the water. So we teach them to get the life vest on and how to enter a boat and exit a boat. And the funny thing is, we've hopped on that. Like I'm from Mass, so, but in Florida, you figure 3/4 or 2/3 of the state's covered with water. This is something that's going to happen to a lot of these kids. They're going to get on a boat. Someone's going to have a boat somewhere, on a pond or a lake or the ocean. And that was paramount. I said, we need to make sure that they get to that station every time they're out here. On the other side is where we do the boats, the water safety, pool safety. And that's, as you can see, it came in handy 2 days later from Michelle from touring Safety Town. But it's a pretty great place. Next, John. Then we got railroad safety. They actually work on this slide here. We'll be revamping this, but we teach them how to cross, when to cross, how not to cross a railroad setting. There's not too many out here, but we definitely don't want them to be paralyzed when they do see a railroad crossing. Go ahead, John. And that's just the opposite side of it. Next one, John. All right, and also here we got alligator. We got an alligator that's solar powered, and they come inside and out, in and out of that drainage. And the kids actually get frightened. I scared one of my buddies with it too, but yeah, that little. We do gotta get a new alligator though. He's hurting pretty bad. He's got like little Coke bottles for eyes right now because he's been sitting in the sun and it gets really hot out there. But as we go through the next one, SunTrust is one of our sponsors. Next, John. That's where the ambulance will take the fall victim to the hospital, drops them off there, and the person will walk back to the station where they fall down again for the next group. It's a pretty remarkable place. That's one of our volunteers out there, pressure washing the sidewalks as they get pretty run down, and we're bringing this place back to life. Like I said, the volunteers are fantastic. Next one, Joe. We got a little chapel on there. The chapel was painted by the volunteers. And next slide, John. They're all painted plastic. It looks like it's stained glass window, but they made it real nice. The ambiance looks fantastic, especially when the sun hits it at the right time. And the little park bench sitting next to it. So it encompasses a lot of the best components of our community. And that's just one of the little trinkets within our town. Go ahead, John. This is as the tour winds down, they'll all meet underneath the pavilion, and we show them the gun safety Eddie Eagle video. Next, John. Okay. So when they're under the pavilion, and like I said,
have you seen our trucks? You may be wondering, why pink?
So that was interesting. Let's get that out of there. All right, there we go. And click right back on there. All right.
Thank you.
Whew. Almost had a meltdown. The mic's melting in my hand. All right, so the kids will learn. They'll eat their lunch there. They'll watch an Eddie Eagle gun safety video. It reinforces what we've told them, especially in the news media today. But these are two 55-inch TVs on each side of the chalkboard that we just put in. When we first came out there, you do the whole tour, and then you would watch the Eddie Eagle video, and you're on your way. You get on the bus, and you leave. Well, now we put a chalkboard out there, and we put the school's name on there, so that they could have the date, and we have the kids sign their names on it, and figure they'll take a photo of that with all the names and signatures on it. And then we have them get in front of it, and they can take a photo for the scrapbook and for later. So they know they're at Safety Town on, December 14th, 2017. or whatever date it is, and we make sure that they take that opportunity, because later on in life, you know, how you regret not doing certain things, well, you know, they'll have a little bit of a memento when they take it back from, you know, from our place. Here's a couple more buildings. That's the Dade City Courthouse, is a replica of it. We use it as, you know, of course, advertisement, but we also use it as our little schoolhouse on the opposite side. So we have like school crossing. Well, it's supposed to represent that being a school building. But that's our courthouse from Dade City. Okay, John? That's another angle of it.
Tell them what's on the inside.
Yeah?
Tell them what's on
Oh,
the
no,
inside.
you don't need to worry about that. It's a gym. I got a gym set up in there. I had to clear so much crap out of that building. This guy he was a hoarder, okay? That guy was a hoarder. He had so much crap in that building. I couldn't even get in the building. Matter of fact, you know, this look right here, we had to put this, it was a mess. Trust me. But it is the gym now, so I figured, okay, you know, a little trinket to me. But none of the kids go in that building. I want to make sure everyone knows that, okay? And then let's see the next slide. That's with Lacucci. We're going to be tearing that building down soon and putting a new building up, because they just put a new building up across from us. And we want to get those floor plans and use that as the new model for them. Next one, John. AAA Auto Group, they've got a building as well. That one really is a headbanger, especially when you go in there and try to come out. You bang your head all the time. It doesn't knock any sense into you, but it definitely depletes your brain housing group, that's for sure. Next, John. So it's like that. Join us and get on the bus. We would love to see you guys probably put something of this magnitude into this community. But if not, we can take some schools up there. Like I said, it's a not-for-profit. We don't charge anybody any currency. The sad thing is when you got a bus that gets the bus pulls in, and these kids from the Lacucci area are very indigent and they don't have any funds. When the child gets off the bus and says, okay, here, and they want to hand you $5 and say, that's for the bus ride. I'm like, we don't charge for that. So I have to explain not to them, but I say, okay, well, thank you, and I give it to the teacher. But the sad thing is when you have that thought process that it costs money to come here, it doesn't. It's paid for by our sponsors, and like I said, through our sheriff's office and all the other components within our community that make this thing successful. That's the reason why we can do this stuff. And we're trying to reach out to those groups. If anything, if we get any donation, we'd like to say, yeah, pay for the busing for these kids to come down here. Because apparently you hear that all the time. Well, it's not the busing, it's not in the busing. I don't want to, you know. When you see that little girl saving her brother's life, you know there's a component that this place gives to the community that is necessary. And that's from an affluent group. Your heart goes out to the people that don't have these resources. I'm not a bleeding heart liberal, I'm not at all, but I do know that there are some elements that these children need that they don't get at home. We'd love to provide it for them. I think that's pretty much it. Any questions and answers? I know you guys have been sitting on your ears for a while. I want to engage you guys a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
I have some statements. Well, when I went there, I was very impressed at the quality of construction. They weren't just plywood facades, and they were real buildings. And he's done a great job of multi-using the buildings. The big building really did have community rooms and offices and a break room and functioned as their offices, so it blended right in with the community. And then others are the storage for the little ambulance, and then storage for the materials that they're using to roof everything and mow them and stuff. And then I was impressed they had a whole team there working on the building. So they had inmates providing labor there and being supervised by other officers. So I was like, wow, that's very creative reuse. And their sponsorship, because their funding is always a huge challenge. They are very modest funding sponsorships, but they've got it all working out with all the sponsors helping provide everything. And great cooperation with Pasco County Public Works. I was teasing him because he said, he was apologizing for the striping of the crosswalk. I'm like, oh my gosh, if we could get our roads resurfaced at our crossings, we would be ecstatic. And he had it redone since then. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So, and Pasco County Public Works came out and did that. They don't have that in the budget. The county's just providing that service to them. And so I really thought they had a lot of great work.
The striping we've done. We got the paint. I got to go to Home Depot, buy the paint, but you're right.
Well, the asphalt or something, yeah.
Yep,
and then the Rotary with the pavilion, that just helped a lot of really great partners. So, very impressed with that, and what else was there? Well, the safety messages, just the diverse, I thought we were just gonna go up there and learn, bicycle and pedestrian safety, but like I learned things while I was there, sadly. So, really appreciate it.
Anyway, yes, ma'am.
Do you guys ever consider about morphing into different areas of middle school and high school and doing different type of safety briefings for them? Not exactly like, and I'll just tell you how stuff like this pays off. I was talking to my 16-year-old, and she says, Mom, that don't do drugs thing, and people offer you drugs that all the schools do over and over again, and you guys. And my children go to church, they have, we have our family, we're very involved, they're surrounded by great support. And she said, Mom, I've been offered drugs hundreds of times, from middle school to high school. And they go to great middle schools and high schools. She's like, it's everywhere. And I heard that from my college age student. So what you do does impact them. And I just wanted to tell you, just from my child's perspective of having a general conversation of all those little reinforcements we do in the community and in our families, your reinforcement in the schools. But, we see things with texting now that middle schools are faced. The drugs always are an issue. And the school threats, like some of them are through stupidity, doing things. So I was wondering, it's such a great program for elementary age students, if you thought about, morphing into the older kids.
It's interesting because the things that we try to control, kids at that impressionable age between kindergartens and 8 years old, that's where you can really grip onto them. The problem is this one component that, let me stress that. We do offer certain services. We have a thing that's not a scared straight thing, but a juvenile choice program. It's a PowerPoint presentation with inmate testimony on it versus, it also incorporates making the right decision and right skills and trying to stay activated, try to stay engaged. It's when you got time on your hands that problems will manifest themselves, due to inactivity. But we know that this is our little caveat. We do also have junior explorers that are now taking off that they can get themselves engaged with. And we also do Junior Explorers and the Explorers program, and they have Safety Town as their base housing. So they're there on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, and that helps with that group. And they're part of the Cub Scouts, which I didn't know. I found that out just recently, and they're part of the Cub Scouts. It would be great to see that. That would probably be a better avenue for them, but we're doing what we can. Like I said, with the resources we have. And our sheriff, colonel, and our whole echelon are well engaged with the community, and they want to make the community better because we need to make these citizens productive. I hate seeing these meth heads come out with no teeth. They're all run down. I got to chase them out of Safety Town because they want to go and park because it's a beautiful setting. And that just happened the other day, by the way. I don't know. That's why the drugs are rampant, and you're right. It's in the colleges too, but the colleges won't tell you that. They kind of keep that away. They want their parents' money, but they don't want to tell them what the crime rate is. We had my next door neighbor's son died. He was sitting in the car for 12 hours, dead. Because he was going to Gulf Coast College. And they don't tell you about the problems until after it occurs. So, it's everywhere. But as long as we get those little kids and get them on that right track, and then the parenting has to take over. John does a great job. Our volunteers are special. They're all 65, 70 years old, and they're out there. They're humping it in the 70 to 105 degree temperatures out there. And that's commitment. That's to define their legacy as they go forward, And we're beneficial. I'm blessed every day by being able to work with these folks. And I'm coming out of jail and counseling inmates all day long. Now I get to counsel little kids, It's a much better diagram of life. What do you got, John?
To expand a little bit on your question, ma'am, we teach Tuesdays through Fridays. Monday, we have the benefit of a pretty good group of inmates, trustees, that have shown they can behave, and they have their own officer. They come out and do the heavy maintenance, all the landscape, but teaching Tuesday through Friday during the school year, we'll see 4,000 or so children we don't have any time to teach the other ones, you know. That's why we're hopeful we can get the best participation from our county schools. And we also do our non-district schools, charter schools. We do Hernando County. We do some of Pinellas County. If we could, and there again, we have like 26 instructors, and they're volunteers, just a couple of them work, it would be literally impossible. So we give them the start, and then the next level is parents.
The other thing is, our calendar is a Google Calendar where it's meshed with the county schools. So when they have a county school, the county school Office of Learning and Leading, they'll punch them in and we'll know that they're set for that date. Anybody that's out of county or homeschool, we'll schedule that one through us. Like right now, we're on the telephone with J.D. Floyd out of Hernando. Last year, we also had a group from Levi County, from Yankee Town, come down. Because when the hurricane was coming through last year, excuse me, the little girl in the 5th grade had to show the kids in the 1st grade how to protect themselves in a hurricane. And then it was at that point where the teacher called us and said, we need to have these kids come down and see you. And we put on a couple more instructors to, I think they had like 60-something kids, and we were like, well, we can't let this moment pass and let these kids go without this information. So we put on a couple more instructors and brought them down. We thought it was fantastic. That's a hell of a run.
But one of our officers, I don't know if you have down here an officer friendly. We have an officer friendly, and she knows that area. She said that is about as poor a village as there is. They did not pay 1 cent for that bus ride. The town, the people paid for the bus.
Pretty remarkable.
Or they wouldn't have been able to come.
Yeah. We also see, on the other end of the spectrum, we also see a lot of red apple schools that are handicapped and they have, you know, physical conditions. So we have special, we break them into smaller groups so we can take them and, I mean, sure, if any kids get unruly, we then take some of the children, regardless of what group they're in or what school they came from. We'll have one of the instructors bring them to the pavilion, sit there till the tour is over if they can't handle them. If they impede the learning environment from the child that is trying to learn, then we get them out of there. We don't sugarcoat it, we just try to, you know. We also make sure that each group that we have with 2 instructors with them, I'm sorry, 2 chaperones. So if we have 4 groups, we make sure there's 8 minimum chaperones with them. Okay.
And on that, we have to overcome the fact that the county only requires 1 for field trips. We require 2, and with the enormous cooperation we just started getting from the Office of Leading and Learning, they took their whole instructional program out and put our instructions in, and stress has to be 2. Because we have the authority not to teach.
Well, yeah, I don't like to put my volunteers on the vulnerability of a child accusing anybody of anything, so that's why we do that. We try to make sure we look out for those that are looking out for the community. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to add on to Lisa's experience. So I got to go with her to go visit, and if you can find a way to get up there and see it for yourself, the pictures just don't do it justice. And for me, my 2 favorite things was the little ambulance. It's so cool. But the hurricane safety, I mean, it was scary. Like when you're in that room and like the windows are vibrating and you're like, holy crap, it feels like a hurricane. It really catches your attention. But just a little sort of, you know, something we talk about a lot on the Livable Roadways Committee is pedestrian safety. And it's such a concern in our community right now. I would love to see something like this, you know, take place in the Tampa Bay area. And what I think about, so I'm in my mid-40s, and I remember in the 80s, it was the seatbelt campaign. It was the child safety seat campaign. And when you teach the children a different way to behave, it catches on. And just like Harry was saying, your daughter tells you it's because she's got all these people who are kind of beating it in her, don't do drugs, don't do this. If they hear it enough, it really can make a difference. And, we can save some lives, because the DOT secretary shared with me earlier this year for our region that he gets a phone call, he gets updates all the time on fatalities, and he sees typically on average 10 pedestrian fatalities a week in our region. And it's a crisis. And I just feel like if we could get the attention of the children, maybe we can make the next generation that much smarter.
Just a couple little reinforcement anecdotes. When you were showing the instructor pressure washing, she's wearing a Carolina blue. That is our instructor's shirt. She is the mother of the little guy with the Down syndrome.
Oh, okay.
And she started coming out helping when he was working and decided, I want to be an instructor. So her picture just went up this morning on our family wall, and that's the kind of dedication we get. There was a question about the gun. Years ago, that was forbode, and the previous sheriff, when he came in, said, why don't we have a gun? They didn't want it. He showed me a research that had been done by one of our universities, USF or UCF. You could teach the NRA gun safety and then take them out. 90% of them picked up the gun. Then, the next control group, they taught it and they showed the Eddie Eagle gun safety video. It went down to 20%. So the director at that point said, put it in right now. And so that's why we do these things. We teach a curriculum, set curriculum, that is approved by the school district, but we have sort of been writing it the last couple of years for their approval, because you cannot sit up in this building and write a curriculum. You've got to be on the ground and know what's happening, and the cooperation has just been fantastic.
I'm telling you, we got a great community. I love Pasco County, beautiful place.
Who has a little one that doesn't know how to protect themselves in
Half
a
this
tornado
group.
or a hurricane?
Half this group, John.
I need a volunteer.
I have a hurricane tip. So we went through a tornado with my neighbor. We were preparing. And so one of her big things, I love this little tidbit, is all the children must, have shoes on and must be dressed and ready to evacuate and go when we hunker down. So we hunkered down, but when they lost their home, none of them had shoes on because we can't predict the tornadoes. And everyone in her, on her block in Kentucky, they were all walking around without shoes and there was debris everywhere. And so, she went around the neighborhood teaching all of us her little life lessons learned of real life tornado survival. And so all of us had all of our children, in the cinder blocks, but with their shoes on and fully clothed, and all the kids had change, their evacuation packbacks with them at all times.
But
so
that's very good. However,
Take that.
if you're stuck in the house, now I need a mom that has K through 2 age child that isn't sure what to do to protect the child and themselves in the event of a tornado or a hurricane. Don't ever charge at once.
She was a 5th grader.
She's been volunteering.
Okay. There you go. You're in.
Thank you.
You'll be our next volunteer.
Okay. Now the schools have their own method of putting kids against the inside walls of the building, which is strong. And in your house, you can use an inside room without windows. But it's what you have to do to protect yourself. I'm not going to make you get down on the floor. But we have these mats in that room that we showed you. The children are on their knees. And we've taught them this, and then when the hurricane comes on, they do it. So if you're on your knees and you put your head down to the ground, it's what you do with your hands to protect yourself. Show me, anybody, show me what they knew about where to put your hands. Man, I'm seeing heads and necks.
There you go. There you go, Johnny.
I can tickle your neck. Everybody reach back and feel this little dent right here. Now, are you right-handed? Put your whole palm across that.
She's right-handed, so she put her right hand.
That's her dominant hand, and the other one goes flat on top of it, the whole palm. That's your spinal stem. You can get, this stuff can fall off the ceiling and hit you on the head. We all have a helmet. That same thing hits you there. I look at the little, well, I used to instruct, look at the littlest girl and say, you might not be able to dance at your prom, and you were done playing third base. That's how important it is. We're teaching the teachers and the parents that today, because they learned, at my age, was the commies, you know. Thank you. But that, I like to let that with everybody we talk to, because we can't teach all of you, but you can go home and teach that, and whatever. Thank you, sir.
All right, you're welcome. Thanks, Jim.
Any questions, ideas?
Yes, ma'am.
Whose job is it to go out and get the sponsorships?
That would be me, ma'am.
That would be you.
Yes, ma'am.
So do you just go and just
Well,
visit different businesses?
Well, when I first showed up at Safety Town, it looked like it was so run down, it looked like going to Death Valley. I was in the Marine Corps, so Death Valley was a pretty nasty place. But I was embarrassed to have people sign up for the place that I took over, because it was all sorts of black mold, all sorts of, he hasn't needed done. Well, now that we're up to that stuff, I can actually focus on getting those sponsorships. So that's what I'll do, go engage in the community a little bit more, and we don't have any classes. Once there's a class there, I stay on property. When there's no classes, then I can do all that gallivanting as well. But that's when I want to go solicit those funds. Anybody else?
I was impressed, he has a lot of sponsors come to him, like the tax collector came and gave $150,000, right? Tax collector? Because they wanted their own little miniature building in Safety Town. Oh, wow!
We're putting a tax collector office, we're putting a new building on the other side of the pavilion that you see. We're putting a tax collector office building in there, and within that building is going to house the explorers, because right now they're using our building. So I'm tired of going in there seeing holes in my wall because people ransacking the place, even those guys, because they're, 14-year-old kids, they're full of zest. So we put them in another building, but that tax collector money is being incorporated with other funds, and then we'll be putting those kids, but also it's going to be a learning station for the kids. We're going to do fingerprinting for the little kids, and they get ID cards, and so that'll be another station that they'll be learning at. So it was a purpose behind it. It's a great, I'm telling you, it's a great place.
They even teach in the summer, there were summer camps there, so like, they're glad.
We teach everybody, even you guys.
Yeah.
I think that's about it, or?
Yeah, that's very
So thank you all for staying past your lunch hour. I wanted to once again thank the sheriff, actually of Pasco, for letting you come out here.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think the key in making something like this either happen for Hillsborough County or in Hillsborough County or getting our families and students up there is for our teachers and our principals to know and hear about something like this, because I was asking Mr. Beekman in the back and Jamie about transportation too, but if they don't know, they're not going to seek out, something like this. So maybe we can share with them, produce some flyers, especially for the schools that are close by, up in the north end of the county. It's not a bad trip.
Safety Town, we usually have the bus arrive at 10:15 in the morning, and they'll be rolling out roughly around 1 o'clock, because they'll have lunch there, and then they can move on. But it's usually an hour,
That
hour and
works for an
45 minutes.
elementary schedule for sure.
Okay, well, that's.
So thank you again. We're not going to have a full meeting today, but I did want to share a couple of things. Who from Safe Routes to Schools wants to make the big announcement? None of them.
I will, what?
Would you like to make your big announcement?